Is your dog a speed eater? I'm talking about that kind where you fill up their bowl, put it on the ground, and within literally seconds, they have gobbled up their meal. If so, you are not alone. I have a speed eater as well. In this video, we are going to talk about the dangers of our dogs actually eating too quickly and ways that we can slow them down. When it comes to the dangers of speed eating, there are a few. So the first one is going to be that there's an increased risk of choking. Number two, it could also lead to an increased risk of vomiting right after they eat. And number three, which is really the biggest one that we should all be talking about when it comes to our dogs eating too quickly, is bloat. Not only is bloat uncomfortable, it can actually be something that's life-threatening to our dogs. One of the easiest ways that we can slow our dogs down during mealtime is by just changing their bowl from a regular bowl like this to a slow feeder bowl, which is something that has 3D textures and places where you actually put the food kind of into all these different grooves, and your dog has to work around them, and it ultimately slows them down. So there are some store-bought options. There's also some DIY versions that you can make at home. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a totally different alternative, which doesn't include a bowl at all. So the first slow feeder that we're going to talk about is by the brand Outward Hound. They have different sizes. This one is very small because I have very small dogs, but they do have larger ones. So if you have a large dog, they make the same exact thing. It looks just like this, but it's, 5 times bigger. Maybe not 5 times, but it's much bigger. They come in a variety of different 3D patterns. This one's just a whole bunch of waves, but they've got ones that are actually circular. They have just a whole variety. And they work to slow your dog down because your dog actually has to eat in all of these grooves. These work really well whether you are feeding kibble, whether you are feeding a wet food, a lightly cooked food, or even a raw food. They can really accommodate any type of food you feed your dog. Now, if you prefer not to use a plastic bowl, then you can use something like this. I got this bowl right on Amazon, and I will drop the link below. Not sponsored. I do genuinely use this every single day, and I bought it myself. I actually was influenced because I saw it on TikTok, and I really wanted to try it. This bowl is a silicone slow feeder. Again, it works the same exact way. It's got that 3D texture. It almost kind of looks like a honeycomb in there. And what I like about this one is it has a suction cup on the back, so it will suction cup onto the floor. Again, this one's great for any type of food. It'll fit kibble, it will fit wet food, it will fit lightly cooked food, it will fit raw food, any type of diet that you have your dog on, this one will work. Now, for my dogs, I have them on the Farmer's Dog, which is a lightly cooked fresh food. And I do really like this, but what works even better to slow my dog down is this one right here. This one is by the brand Licky Mat, and it is called the Slow-Mo. And what I like about this one is I literally smear her food into these grooves. It takes her even longer to stick her little tongue in here and work all of the food out. So I love when I'm feeding her out of this one because I know that for what we feed and for her just personality, this bowl is one of the best ones. Now, just because I use this one with fresh food, that doesn't mean you can't also drop kibbles in here. You absolutely can. I can just tell you that I feed fresh food and it works really well in this one. Now, if you also feed a, I'm gonna call it a smearable type of food, then Licky Mat also has this one, which is called their Wobble. And I love to smear the food in here, put this on the ground, and not only does she have to lick all the food out of these grooves, and it keeps her busy for quite a while, but the bowl is also lightly wobbling. Why it's called the Wobble. The bowl is lightly wobbling around as she's eating. I will say this, if you have never had this bowl and it's just the idea of the bowl, you might think that the dogs might get a little bit frustrated. She doesn't. She doesn't at all. She really enjoys this, and every time I pull this out, she gets super excited because she knows it's mealtime, and yeah, I put this down on the ground and it takes her a significantly longer amount of time to finish her food than if she was eating out of a regular bowl. Another one that, now this one won't work as well with a fresh food or a wet food, but if you do feed a dry food or a kibble, then this one is really great. It is by Outward Hound, and you take the top off here. You can fill this middle section and drop the food right in here. They have to bat it around and it goes through this little maze, and ultimately it falls out of these holes. There's several holes around this game, and like I said, it is a pet puzzle. And if you do feed kibble or dry food, then any regular pet puzzle truly would make for a wonderful slow feeder. Now, if you do not want to invest in a store-bought slow feeder, and these come at a variety of price points, but if you don't want to invest in a slow feeder, or maybe you want to order one on Amazon and you don't want to wait the 2 days, you want to start right now to slow feed your dog, then what I would recommend doing is going into your baking cabinet and pulling out your muffin tin. So what you can do is fill up these different sections with their food, and it essentially does the same exact thing. Suction cup to the to the table. It essentially does the same thing as this. It's portioning out the food and putting it in different little pockets, and your dog has to not just eat from one surface area, but they actually have to slow down and go into each section. Now, if you have a large dog, you can do a regular one. If you have a small dog, I bake a lot, so I've got a lot of these, so you know, I probably would use this, but truly you can use anything. And what's great about this option is, once again, you can use it with any type of food. Another thing that you could do if you aren't a baker and you don't have one of those, if you don't have a muffin tin on hand, then what you do is you fill up your bowl just like you would, and this works a little bit better if you use dry food, but if you have dry food and you have it in a regular bowl, then you take either a tennis ball or one of these holy roller balls or even a Kong toy or a topple, and you put it in here, and your dog actually has to work and eat around the toy. It's just another great way. I mean, if your dog plays with the toy, then they might just take it out. But a lot of times what happens, it's gonna just depend on your dog's personality. A lot of times what happens is your dog will actually eat around the toy, and it just helps to slow them down. Now, if you do not want to do any slow feeder, what another option that you can do, and this one's really great, is you can actually turn mealtime into training time. So instead of using a bowl at all, what you can do is sit, paw, good boy, good girl, and then give the food. Turn it into game time, turn it into training time. And every single time your dog does something reward worthy, then it's time to give the food. So you can do that also with the dry food, maybe not a canned wet food, but most foods you can grab with your hand and you can give it to your dog, or you can let them eat it out of the palm of your hand. It's really 3 big benefits, right? Number 1, you're training your dog, so they're just getting better manners and they're doing more things that you really like. Number 2, you are slowing them down at mealtime. And number 3, you're strengthening your bond with your dog because it's something that you're actually getting to do with your dog. So these are the ways that I really like to slow my dog down, and I know that it's helped us tremendously, and it just makes me feel much more comfortable because I know this is something that I'm doing for her health, and it just, like I said, it's peace of mind. It makes me feel really good, and it does work. It does work to slow her down. If you have done something different and it's helped slow your dog down, I would love to hear about it in the comment section below. Next, check out my video on my favorite Amazon products, my top dog products that you can find on Amazon. These slow feeders are actually featured in that list, but there's a whole lot more that I highly recommend that every single dog parent have. So don't forget, check that one out next, and I'll see you next time.